There we go.
Great. Great.
Perfect. Are we all ready?
We are. We're
Go
good.
for it. Go
All
for it.
right. So in my presentation, we're just going to go through 10 years of fractal water imploder research, with my many friends here. Dan and Roger is on. So we'll just get right into that. So, this is, Fractal Water, which is myself, which is the company, the manufacturer of the imploder, theimploder.com, fractalwater.com. We're working with Dan Winter and Roger Green and others, all across the world. And I'm presenting our 10 years of research and from all across the world here. And we're going to demonstrate the power of regenerative agriculture in the deserts of Dubai, and research in hydroponics, cannabis, macadamia nut production, and also the evolution of the imploder from the plastic proof of concept to the now Ultra Imploder, which is a military spec stainless steel 1-inch unit, and has the imploder, or now the Ultra Imploder, is the most powerful structured water and magnetic water device on the planet today, and we'll show you why. And then later on, we'll learn about how our new Ormis-based agriculture will revolutionize farming and truly restore the soil. So the agenda is we're going to go through Dan Winter's golden ratio imploder nozzle design. And, good thing Dan followed before me because he has explained his golden ratio and the mechanics behind that. So you already have a good primer of how that works. So we don't have to spend too much time on that. We'll go through the evolution of the imploder, and then a brief overview of what it does. And we'll go through our 10 years of customer test results and our customer Ultra Imploder installs in their own home. And then we'll see the South Africa Macadamia Nut study. And we'll go into Roger Green's Bloom the Desert in 2012, which is a big collaborative effort with the Fractal Field Group, which is Dan Winter, Roger Green, and many others, some who are not with us today. Bloom the Desert. And then we'll go into the Ormis-based agriculture, which Leyland Minter will be giving a presentation on Sunday, I believe. So make sure you tune in for that. So without further ado, we're going to go into Dan Winter's golden ratio design here. And as you can see, this is the imploder nozzle on the center there. As you can see, that is the imploder a vortex nozzle for the Ultra Imploder made of stainless steel, right? And this is the scaling principle that Dan Winter has pioneered, which is golden ratio times Planck length. Now, as you can see, there's 5 input areas in the nozzle. Now, if you can imagine, water will go down or flow through that, and it will flow through the cone on this side, and then they all meet at a point. And that collision point is what creates the vortex effect, which creates a perfect implosion of water at that point. Now, that is the principle behind the imploder nozzle. So we have, 5 streams of water flowing down a cone in perfect golden ratio symmetry, as Dan Winter has pioneered, and it hits they all meet at one point, creating a vortex. And this is for Dan Winter, who you've already seen. I think he has another talk as well on the 0-point energy and propulsion later on. So Dan Winter is the person that pioneered that nozzle and the imploder, along with Roger and the Fractal Field Group. So now we're going to go through the evolution of the imploder from the original imploder to the Super Imploder to the now Ultra Imploder, which is a stainless steel commercial grade unit that will last 100 years plus. So this is the first Super Imploder, version 1. We got a lot of things correct here. We have the PVC outer casing, the magnets that are on the inside, outside of the pipe, very powerful magnets. golden ratio sintered magnets. It was a super high flux density, and it worked very, very well. And where I got into the picture was creating the Fractal Water Super Imploder. This is the version 2 Super Imploder, where we also use steel to encase those magnets around the pipe there. And what that did was it increased the flux density of the magnets towards center. So it increased the flux because the flux did not bleed out of the magnets into the atmosphere. It was focused more into the pipe, which created a more dramatic effect and stronger magnetics. The implosion nozzle was the same, of course, because there wasn't much to improve on that one because it was already perfected from Dan Winter. We just made a better casing, made it a little bit more durable and more commercial available. And we had many, many test results resulting from this unit, and we sold thousands across all over the world. And this is now the new Ultra Imploder, Fractal Water Ultra Imploder. As you see, it's a beautiful, beautiful unit made of stainless steel, will last forever. The blue, what you see as the blue casing here, that's where the magnets are in. Those magnets will lose about 50% of their strength in 30 years, so it will still work. That's a theoretical principle. I mean, if you know anything about magnets decaying over time, you could do the math there. But in general, they say that magnets will lose their flux strength by 50% over 30-year period. So with that principle said, we made it so you could unbolt it, take it off, take the magnets out, and put brand new magnets in after 30 years. So this will last forever. You can pass it down to your children. It's made of stainless steel. It will never rust. It will never break. You put it in and you never have to think about it again. And that's why we designed it. We designed it like old school craftsmen that don't want to have something that would break just to sell you another unit. We want to sell it to you one time. That's it. And you will always have it. And it will always work, and it will always provide you with the great and fractal water for the rest of your life. So now we're going to go through the overview of how it works. Very general, water molecules will cluster together and they won't penetrate a cell wall. If you ever seen the dew buildup, or when you water your plants, you'll see droplets forming on the leaves, and that's because it's not penetrating through the cell wall as it should. It'll just hit the plant and bleed off. So what this does is it goes through the nozzle first. The nozzle then reduces the molecular cluster size of the water, of the molecules on the inside, and then passing through the magnetic array, it basically freezes that structure that's created and then creates a more micro cluster. And now the water molecules could properly go through a cell wall. One easy way to figure this one out is if you get 2 pots of soil, and everyone has done this in their own home. You get 2, when you're watering your plants, you'll see that when you put your water in, the water will pool up and then slowly trickle down. When it goes to the Fractal Water Imploder, it will immediately just get absorbed right through the soil. There's no pooling effect. It'll just go right down. So that's the redox potential of the water is increased. So you get maximum absorption. So what this basically says, what this does, you could save 10 to 20% on your water consumption, because you're using less water, because you don't have to use more water to hydrate. You're using less because it's absorbed more into the soil. So this all equates into a 10 to 50% decrease in your chemical uses, your fertilizer uses, your pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, etc., because it's your water is more potent, so you don't need these extra things that you add to the water to do what your water should be doing. So that also saves 10% on energy consumption, because now your pumps have to work don't have to work as hard to pump water through because you're also removing scale. So when you put this in your home, this is a salt-free water conditioner as well. It also removes scale from your pipes over time. So when you have hard water, the water in your pipes fall out of solution and get built up on the pipe, and it looks like a clogged artery. So what this does is it keeps your minerals in the solution where they should be, and over time it gathers the buildup in the pipe and it puts it back into that water, and over time your pipes are cleaned out. This is done on an industrial scale. I mean, since the mid 1970s, all oil drilling equipment all the pipes are magnetically extruded because they found that it doesn't build up, the gunk doesn't get built up on the pipes. So we're taking industrial level technology and we're giving it to you so you could have that in your own home and your own business. So you could boost productivity because now that water, the micronutrients in the water are now more available to the plants. You get about a 10 to 30% to 50% increase in the yield of that. So you'll see that later on when we go through some of the studies. There's no byproducts, there's no waste. It's salt. You could solve all your calcium, lime, and rust in your hard water. In agricultural, you'll have better home water. You actually balance the pH. And what it's found in magnetic water is that the salts in the soil become inert over time. So you then restore the soil and you have healthier soil just by using this technology. There's other technologies like the Ormis-based fertilizers that Roger Green and Leyland Minter and Dan Winter has pioneered, which you'll see from the Bloom the Desert, which you could add to speed up this process, but just with the water alone, you could also do that as well, because there are micronutrients within water, gold, iridium, etc., that become available when you run it through this process. And I believe this is a video here.
A spiral or vortex is one of the most common forms in nature and the universe. Yet few understand the everyday miracle that occurs at the singularity of a vortex. Implosion, the non-destructive compression of matter into a new and specific structure. As above, so below. Similarly overlooked is the ancient knowledge of Earth's ley lines and the powerful effect those magnetic forces have on water, as seen in holy wells at crossings all around the planet. Imagine being able to have the benefits of implosion combined with a magnetic tuning inside a sacred holy well, right from your sink, your shower, your pool, and even your ice maker. Our Fractal Water Ultra Imploder can easily be installed at the water mains of any home or building, providing more than 30 years of guaranteed continuous fractal water using nothing more than municipal water pressure running through our Ultra Imploder and permanent magnetic enclosure. Visit our website to learn the science behind this device and to see testimonials from happy customers.
All right, that was a quick demo video of basically everything I just said. We'll go to the next slide, and this is our customer test results. So as you can see, this is a imploder installed in a grow room of medical cannabis, and it's installed on the reservoir. So as you can see, the best way to use it in this type of situation is to have it on a continuous loop, meaning you get your reservoir with water, you're pumping water out of the reservoir into the imploder and then back into the reservoir in a loop system. So it's recirculating multiple times before you go out to feed. And there's another study that will show that the difference between running it one time and then running it 2 times through, there is a growth difference. So the more potent the water is, it will give you a better effect. And this is the grow room here of medical marijuana plants. And also this is another one from one of our customers early on. they had a 68% growth increase. So on the left, you have 227 grams, and that's with the Super Imploder charged water versus the 135 grams of their control water. And, you know, they're just using LED lights, and all the variables are exactly the same. The only difference was one was watered with the imploded water, one was watered with just a regular water. And you can visually see the difference there. And here's the root difference. This was a test that I've done. You could see the difference between sunflower roots. The roots are much longer, much, you know, on the left is the imploder, on the right is the regular water. They're much longer, much healthier. And actually, the plant grew very fast and it stopped because the pot was too small because the roots were getting so big so quickly. So, you know, if you had larger pots or in the soil, you'll see that that root is really going to get down there. This is really good to restore soil, because grasses that get killed over time, the roots die out. Now, if you're going to grow grasses again, you know, you could see it in the plains of the Midwest and here in America. A lot of times the Dust Bowl happened because they plowed all the grass out, and that those years and years of roots that went deep down were destroyed, and it created a Dust Bowl. So to mitigate that, you know, using the imploder to grow even your grass would help your soil. So on the next slide here, we have, this was one of Dan Winter's customers in Russia. Here, he put it onto his tractor to tractor irrigation for wheat production. So he put it on the tractor and did a test for us, and he, you know, watered his wheat like he would normally do this, but he did it with, you know, one side with the imploder, and the results obviously were dramatic. On the right is the wheat grown with the imploder. On the left is without. I mean, better color, larger. I mean, just all around better product with the Super Imploder here. On the next slide, here's our Growzine. Is a online growing magazine, hydroponic magazine. They were using the Super Imploder in their grow room, and they were doing testing for growth effect on basil. And you will see the difference here. The final harvest result was for 11 plants. Both were 11 plants. One was with Fractal Water, one was without the water. You'll see about 100-gram increase in the basil, right? So not only in the next slide here, we'll see not only do you have just a visual difference, right? You'll also see that the bricks levels go up. Now, bricks measures the nutrient density in the plants, right? So on the control plant, on the control, you'll see a 4.5 to 5 on the bricks meter. That's measuring nutrient density. And on the Fractal Water treated plants, you see a 5.5 to 6.0 on the nutrient density of the plant. So not only are you getting a larger plant, you're also getting a healthier, more nutrient dense plants. And this is water alone. Everything is exactly the same. You're just structuring the water. So it's that. So the imploder is just something that you just add to your system just to give you that little extra kick that over your competition, or just if you're not competing with anyone, just so you have better, more nutrient dense plants for yourself. And this is another study. Now, this is what we were talking about, running through the imploder more than one time. Now, this is a test done with 2 structured water devices, you could say. One was the Fractal Water Super Imploder. The second one was Grander Water. I believe Grander is out of Australia, and then regular water. So all the way on the left-hand side here, we see untreated water. The germination rate was about 75%. So 75% of the seeds germinated in the test. All the way on the right is the grander water, and they also had a 75% germination rate. So 75% of the seeds germinated. For the imploded water in the center, 100% of the seeds germinated, right? So all of them germinated. Now you'll see the difference between the growth. So running it through the imploder one time, if you see just the imploded water in the growth effect of that versus running it through it twice. So running it through the super imploder 2 times, the same water, going through twice, you see a slightly larger plant there. So that's why we recommend if you have a reservoir, you run it in a continuous loop on that. So you're constantly charging the water, 1 time, 2 times, 3 times before you're going out to water your garden there or your greenhouse. This was in a I think a garden environment, this test. And the people who did this out in Australia, thank you for the study. We appreciate that. And again, how many other companies out there have their own customers doing the tests for you? Now that's just amazing. So this is the Ultra Imploder home installs. This is examples of people putting the Ultra Imploder in their homes and how they did it, just so you could get a visualization of how you would put that in your own home or business. So on the bottom here, this is one of my customers in Florida. They're using the ProPure, which is now, I believe they changed their name to Pro One, the Pro One home system, which is the only water filtration system that I recommend, because it's not reverse osmosis, because reverse osmosis will remove all your minerals from the water and just give you just plain clean water that doesn't have any minerals. But ProPure, it removes all your pesticides, herbicides, pharmaceutical drugs, etc., from the water, but it does leave your beneficial minerals in that water, because like I said, water inherently inside that water, you have gold, iridium, calcium, lots of beneficial minerals that the body needs. So that's what the Pro One system does. So the first stage is to filter the water using the Pro One system. We are actually, Fractal Water is a distributor. So if you want to get in contact with me, I could get you a good price on one of those units. And with the whole COVID lockdown, etc., they just came back in stock. So they're now back in stock. So anyway, this filtration, and trust me, if you ever had Florida water, you definitely want one of these things. And not to knock anyone who lives in Florida. But anyway, it goes through the Pro One home filtration system, and then it gets energized through the Fractal Water Ultra Imploder, and then goes in for the rest of the house and all the outdoor taps. So this is another system here. This is installed in Ohio. This is a well water system. So it has well water, and you can see the pressure tanks right after that. Another home install in Ohio. This just gives you an example. You can mount it to the floor. You can mount it to one of your beams. However you want to do it, you want to put it into your incoming water line, and there you go. This is another one of our customers. He loves it. He took a picture, sent it over. Says you could use his picture, and he was very, very happy with that unit. And again, it's close to his electrical box here. It's totally fine because this is a stainless steel unit, so it is going to reflect any type of EMF frequencies, etc. I know Dan Winter, if you're a fan of Dan Winter, you see that he says that steel buildings, etc., are death and poison, and that is true, because when you have steel, it's going to reflect any of the natural earth energies. But in this situation with water, we're containing all that energy, correct? So we're containing that energy, and it goes out. I have some people saying that to me, that why use stainless steel when it's death, etc. It's good to contain energy, of course. This is another one mounted to the wall in a home environment. So that's their pressure tank on the bottom for a well water system. And after the pressure tank, it goes into the Ultra Imploder. All right, so this is a study from macadamia nuts down in South Africa by our good friend Nicole in South Africa. And we're going to play this video here, and we'll kind of run through it a little bit, and you'll see the growth difference in macadamia nut production. So we just have to forward it a little bit because it gets a little bit slow, but basically this gives you magnetically induced irrigation will increase propagation success, overall growth rates, and improve photosynthetic efficiency of macadamia nuts. And that's a huge cash crop in South Africa, and I also believe in South America. So you'll get healthier plants, faster growing plants, and producing the nuts quicker with less fertilizer and water usage. And it takes about 10 years to get a plant ready to grow macadamia nuts. So if you could cut that down, I believe they said they could cut that down to 8 years rather than 10. So it's a win-win for everyone. So the magnetic field of the water makes it a more stable molecular structure, the ability to form hydrogen bonds, enhanced, it hydrates the layers, and water binds for better nutrients in the soil, leading to increased balance and uptake, also less water, and it's low maintenance and low cost. So this is the data that they collected, the bricks levels, everything. So all this stuff was being collected during the study. Soil retention, etc., leaching, the yellowing of the plants, everything else. Go to the next slide. And then on the left, you'll see the magnetic water versus the control. I mean, everything you want in a test there. The magnetic water is much larger. Imploded water is much larger versus the control for regular water. I mean, you could just visually see the difference here. This is not something where I have to show you some numbers on a chart. I mean, just by looking at it, it just looks better. And then we're going to run through the greenhouse too. Nicole's going to show you a short video here of the greenhouse. Yeah, and according to botanists, macadamias are not nuts, they're seeds. It's pretty funny. But here we go.
This is Nicole Bochos, 15 February, comparing magnetic trial. On the right-hand side is the magnetic water treatment, and on the left-hand side is the control. Visually, you can see a big difference in green color. The lighter green on the right-hand side indicates much more new growth after grafting. Those bigger boards can indicate different grafting ages and different cultivars. This is just to visually show the difference between new growth. As you can see on the right-hand side, this is the magnetic treated water compared to the left-hand side, which the new growth has only just started showing. The darker leaves are the rootstock, and you can see they were grafted. $842 was the cutting that was grafted onto the rootstock. This is the magnetic rootstock 695, and its direct comparison on the opposite side. Again, rootstock 695, 842 grafted on top of it. Irrigation was from the top, mist sprayers. So the one pipeline on the right-hand side has the imploder connected to it. And on the left-hand side, just normal irrigated water. Irrigation is manually so that it's controlled due to rainy days and weather like this when irrigation is not needed, just to avoid overwatering. The difference between the shorter plants and the longer ones is grafting. So this is what they would look like before they are grafted. And then when that piece is cut off so that the new cutting is on top, they're a bit shorter and new growth is shown. Just for interest's sake, on the right-hand side with the magnetic water treatment, grafting was able to be taken place 2 months or a month and a half before the control, which means.
So if you just heard what she just said, the grafting of the plants were able to be done 2.5 months prior to the control, meaning using the magnetic water alone, you're able to graft the plants 2.5 months quicker.
The thickness of the stem was thick enough much earlier for grafting. According to Mark Hassenkamp, the owner of Redsa Nursery, the grafting was much quicker, much better. On the right-hand side, you can see the imploder connected to the irrigation system.
So as you can see, it's a visually, the visual effect alone should tell you that magnetic water and the Super Imploder, the Ultra Imploder, does work. All right, so now the next one is the Bloom the Desert project that was done around in 2012 with the Fractal Field group. That's Roger and Dan Winter's group there. They were using the imploder and other regenerative agricultural techniques like biochar. I believe Roger could even chime in real quick. They first put in the biochar and then waited a few months and then came back to the site to finish up. Is that correct, Roger?
Not exactly. We did the biochar and the microbes and the ORMES. And the whole point of that was we didn't use any fertilizer. So what we did first was to prove up using these low-cost technologies that we could bring the desert sands high pH. So we measured that. There was something like 13.8 pH or something ridiculous, which is why nothing grows there. And so then we put the biochar, the specially formulated microbes that we had a water tank. So just a little bit of microbes. We set up some drip feed that went through the imploder as well. And we put the ORMES. So that is what we left for 3 to 4 months. And then we had independent testing done with the desert sand before and after. So remember, it started off at something like 13.8, and we got it down to 8.2, just using those technologies. And we were actually, so we transmuted the desert sand, so to speak, and we started to create other elements there and minerals, etc. So there was some wonderful transmutation that was happening. The whole point of the exercise was not to use fertilizer at that stage and to come back, but we actually grew things. We actually, just with that, we grew, cabbages and all sorts of things and carrots.
Sure.
And then we came back 6 months later, and then we were able to put some organic fertilizer in based on that. Yeah.
Great. So we'll go through this short video summarizing all of that so people could see the actual results.
And also the reduced salt.
Project here where we're
Excuse me?
Reduced salt as well.
Yes, we reduced the salinity of the soil.
Right.
use low-cost technologies, just things like biochar, ORMES, microbes, and a little bit of organic fertilizer. And we're growing crops here. And we've actually just created this shade house. I've got some special Luminate shade cloth coming in from America. And it's not just shade cloth, it actually also reduces the temperature by, some say, by 70%, which is fantastic because it's, shade cloth is good, but it's actually getting the temperature down for crops like banana and pineapple, which of course are just excellent to not only eat in this kind of environment, but to grow. And they don't grow it here. The main problem here is the desert sand. Now remember, right from the start, this is actually organic growing.
There's no chemical fertilizers being used here whatsoever. This is this wonderful hydrogel. So look how well it expands. Wonderful. So this is a great water retainer, great moisture retainer. So that's secret formula number one. I've got my ORMES here that we've made from the ocean. Wonderful quantity of ORMES. The ocean here is very strong in minerals and salt. I have my biochar here, and we got this done into packets. And I have a little bit of fertilizer, local, well, not fertilizer, manure. This is.
That was the second year I went there.
And we're fortunate enough to actually have a
Yeah,
little bit
we started to use some fertilizer.
Yep.
of pigeon manure here. So this imploder is going to energize the water in this greenhouse and this field here. So you can see it all nicely installed. And then that water essentially comes out to this feed here. And it's going to drip feed this area here, and our shaded house here. And we're going to do a variety of crops here, from carrots to cabbages to onions to all sorts of other greens, cucumbers, marrows, etc. After 2.5 days, come and have a look at this. Come over here, hurry, with your camera. Get a shot of what we got down here. Can look at that. 2.5 days. Can you believe it? Now that's our Cannabis. And Cannabis, I think you're going to be hearing quite a little bit of over the next year or two. And Bill's been doing some wonderful work there. And I've planted all along here. And we'll germinate it here. And then later we'll take it out to another little shed that we prepared this afternoon with the same process with biochar and hydrogel and ORMES, etc. So when these get a little bit higher, we'll be able to transpose them to a shed. And then when they get about, say, 6 feet, maybe 5 feet, we'll then be able to put them out into our outdoor areas in between the rows of our crops to provide shade, of course, right? But just check this out. After 2 days, we've got some other things growing here. You know, I've planted some Chinese greens. I've planted, look down here, hurry. See, look at this, look at this. After 2 days, look at this. So we've planted in here a whole variety. Chinese greens, cauliflower, zucchini, onions, melons, etc. So after so the prana and the life force and the nutrition in here is, of course, just wonderful. And you can see it for yourself. 2.5 days, I've got sprouts growing all over the place. So the idea, of course, is some of these can just keep growing in here, and others, like the cauliflower, will be able to easily transpose to their outdoor crops. So this is the end of August. As far as the outdoor is concerned, as I've mentioned, we're going to wait 1 month before we plant. In the meantime, every day I've got like a scoop of ORMES and some microbes going into our big tank, which is then drip feeding our outdoor area. Right? So that's it, folks. And of course, we've got our, as you saw before, we've got our imploder from theimploder.com, all engineered up there on the outside to energize the water for all of our outdoor areas. We're not using the imploder in here because it's too far away. It would be great to have a second one in here, of course, but quite frankly, there's enough energy going on in here that you know, we probably don't need the imploder. It really needs to be outside there to help and assist with growing crops in the desert. So that's all from Bloom the Desert.
Okay, as you can see, the imploder in this scenario is just a little extra piece to get everything, you know, growing and reducing soil salinity, etc., as Dan mentioned. And it's just this regenerative farming regenerative this regenerative farming movement is just getting so large, and a huge part of that is your water. And if you're doing regenerative farming, you should be thinking about your water. I mean, if you're getting it from a mountain stream where you're getting it where two ley lines are crossing and that's where you're getting your water, you probably don't need the imploder. But if you don't have that, you definitely need the imploder to get that water energized, because as you can see with the macadamia nut study, with the Bloom the Desert project, it's an integral part to getting all of that working together in harmony. So the next thing is will revolutionize the world, is this Ormis-based agriculture, right? So in the next slide here, you'll see that there's Ormis-based fertilizers made using the Ultra Imploder here as the vortex trap system. And the Ultra Imploder is actually the world's best method to process water for Ormes production. So Ormes is is a term. It's called orbitally rearranged monoatomic elements. Basically, you're taking a large quantity of water and condensing it down, condensing all the minerals down from that to create a base of high concentrated minerals where you could use as a fertilizer. Now, this is again, this is a solution to Monsanto. This is revolutionizing agriculture as we know it today, because now we're not relying on these oil-based fertilizers, which was done in the past 75 years here, and we're returning back to more organic. This is beyond organic methods of farming. Now, with Dan Winters and Roger Green's and the Fractal Field Groups, their knowledge that they've collected in the Bloom the Desert, and working now with a man named, you could see here, Leyland Minter, Roger, Dan, and everyone working with Leyland, Leyland had 50 years of experience in agriculture and everything else. They were able to create what you'll see later on, I believe on Sunday, organic biotech solutions. And most of the products are an Ormis-based solution. And this is going to be the solution to Monsanto here. So based on all the research put together, we really thank Dan, we thank Roger, we thank everyone else from the Fractal Field Group to put all of this together to then create the solution to Monsanto, which is the Ormis-based agricultural products, which you could go to organicbiotech.solutions to see that now, or you could wait for Leyland Minter's presentation, which I'm sure he'll go over all of that. And these are wonderful products, wonderful products. So on the next slide here, this is just our summary. Fractal Water Vortex Magnetic Systems. We improve water quality for domestic and commercial applications, from agriculture all the way to health. Fractal Water has the technology for your application. Our partners from all over the world are the best in their respective field, and we all work together to bring forth technology and knowledge for a better planet. So again, I'd like to thank Dan Winter. I'd like to thank Roger Green for having me here. All of the people that have, Liz Donovan, everyone that I've met throughout this journey, 10 years of fractal water research. And thank you all. If there's any questions, I'll take them. If not, that's our presentation for today.
Jason, there's certainly some questions. There's some questions down in the chat window. Jason, is there a preference to pipe material before or after the imploder? Copper, PVC, PEX, etc.
It does not matter. I mean, I obviously don't like the plastics. It's better to use copper, in my opinion. But again, if I use CPVC, which is the commercial grade PVC, because there's less leaching. But either way, all of them work well. I mean, most people have copper in their homes, I would imagine. And if they don't, I mean, they should. All right, so I see that there's some questions here.
Yep. Is the bypass loop blueprint supplied with the unit or just the instructions?
I could give you those. I could give you those instructions. It's very, very simple to do.
You say your magnetic water is structured. Any measurements involved? How long does it last?
So we like to say that it lasts for about 1,000 hours. The measurements, I believe one of our customers measured the GDV in a tank after about a week. And it was still pretty charged at that point. But again, that's why I showed the study that was done in Australia with Dan Winter's customer, where they did one pass through the imploder and then 2 passes through the imploder. So getting it right from the moment of implosion would be the best way to do it. But if you had to keep it for a little while, it does last for about a week, about 1,000 hours.
Would this be good to bottle for human consumption? Have
Oh,
you
yes.
studied this?
Oh yeah, I mean, given our great FDA here in America, we don't make health claims, but if you look at fractalwater.com under the health section, I could punch that up right now, actually. So if we go to fractalwater.com here, under markets, right? I don't know why I can't get to it here. Under wellness, there was a study done on the effects of magnetic water. In the conclusion of that study, I'll just read it out. It says, it can be concluded that magnetic water treatment improved the blood picture, biochemical parameters, semen quality, and antioxidant status in human and animals. Magnetic water is very effective in breaking up kidney and gallbladder stones and prevents further formation of stones in the kidneys and gallbladder. It alleviates arthritis, pain, and reduces blood pressure. Prevention and treatment of atherosclerosis. Helps unclog the arteries and veins of deposits of cholesterol salts. It normalizes the circulatory system. Helpful in weight control, also to mitigate environmental impact on livestock, increases milk yields and components in dairy cows and mutton and wool and sheep, and improves blood picture and antioxidant status. More weight gain in geese and egg production hatchability in turkey. So magnetic water must be used to mitigate the harmful effects of drugs, toxins, and environmental pollutants. So yes, there's been studies done on the effects of drinking magnetic water, and it just helps with health in livestock and humans all around. Yeah, someone asked how much it costs. It costs about $2,250.
Yeah, can you talk about the price range?
Yeah, the price is $2,250. And again, that seems a little steep, but you're talking about a product that will last beyond your lifetime. And for one time.
Glenn Ryan was commenting the GDV doesn't measure structuring of water.
We did have a GDV done early on. Dan had that done, and it does the GDV. Oh, you guys are seeing my screen, correct? So
yeah, we see
it. Research. I think it's on this page here. GDV is right here. So you can see regular tap water, and then you have the magnetic. This is going through the imploder here. This was done with the first imploder, I believe. So I believe it's even greater now with this new one.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, we do have a GDV study done there. All right.
Okay. Well, thank you, Jason. Thanks
Welcome.
for that. It's excellent. So, Jason, could you do me a favor? Could you stop the recording?
Yes.
And I'm going to have to get you to